Hello, welcome back to Zentangle Explore. My name is Esther Piszczek and I'm a certified Zentangle teacher, and I am so very delighted that you've come to join me either live in person or on the replay wherever you are in the world right now. So this is a class where we draw really slowly, one Zentangle pattern really slowly, and we explore in whatever way you want to, which doesn't have to look like how I explore it. So you will need a pen. I have a 01 Micron here, but if you even just have some ballpoint from your desk, totally fine. And a couple pieces of paper that you can hold in the palm of your hand. This is watercolor paper, so that one, it's nice and thick, and secondly, I can add watercolor or marker or some other media to it after I put my lines on the page. So that's all you need. And we're going to begin by doing a short amount of breathing and settling, and then we will draw for a really long time together. Okay, so get nice and comfortable in your seat. You can close your eyes if you like. I'm going to close mine. Oh, just check in with your breath. Say hello, breath. Good morning, good evening. Welcome to this moment. Is there anything in your body that's calling your attention, needs a little wiggle, a little breath, a little, it's okay? Just send it some attention right now. Maybe give it a little wiggle. Help that jaw and the forehead and your shoulders to relax. Perhaps feel your seat if you're seated, or your feet if they're planted. And as you sense that connection, just feel how held you are. The weight of your body being held by whatever is supporting you right now. The floor, the bed, the couch, the chair, the grass, the table, whatever it is, wherever you are. Feel the connection and allow your body to be just a little bit heavier, just a little bit more weighted. Feeling the security of that connection. Feeling the gentle tug of gravity that affects us all. Binds us together in unified experience of what it is to be here, walking in bodies on this beautiful earth. And allow your breath to be exactly as it is. The breath is a cycle of inhale, little stop, and exhale, and little stop. Sometimes it's shallow, sometimes it's deep, sometimes it's loud, sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's slow. It always has a texture and a tone. Just notice yours today, right now. It's here for us all the time. Morning to night, and never stops. It's truly available 24/7 for as long as we live. So let's take a nice big inhale together. And a nice sighing exhale, making noise if that feels good to you. Oh. A nice massaging, vibratory noise. Nice big inhale. Releasing. Ah. Just hearing the sound of your voice, no matter what that sounds like. Just affirming your presence right here, right now. One more big inhale together. And exhale. Oh. Allowing yourself to be just as you are right now. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes, knowing that whatever we create together will be perfect just as it is. Okay, thank you so much. It's so helpful to me to have you come draw with me and also to have you breathe with me. It settles us down and allows us to draw really slowly. Okay, I'm going to change my camera and we will draw. All right, so I have a couple of pieces of paper here and a couple of different pens. Whatever you have is going to be perfect. The idea is that we will draw slow lines. And this pattern that we're drawing today is called PDA. And it's based on a pattern off of a floor tile. And it's Meritxell Torch Llongarriu. I am butchering her name for sure, but I will include it in the replay so you will be able to spell it properly if you like. So this pattern is, I'm so excited about it. It's really simple. And of course, there's always more than one way to start. So I'm going to start the way she started, with a really slow little curved line and a really slow little curved line to meet the edges. It's a little rice shape. It's oblong, it has these two little pointy ends. And however you draw it is absolutely perfect. This is a class where we explore. And so we look at each element and each component of a Zentangle pattern, and then we change them in whatever way is pleasing to us. So the next step is to come to the end of this one. We're just going to pick up this line. So imagine we're drawing this line. We'll pick it up right at the end. And allow that line to continue. And I'm just going to continue it off the page. We don't have to continue all of these off the page, but for right now, we're going to continue this off the page. And then we're going to come to the other end. So right where I stopped, right where this connection is, I'm going to go up this side. And you can turn your tile over if you like and draw from the same direction. I'm going to draw mine upside down just for a challenge for myself. So come right up to the top here. I'm going to continue that off the page. And remember, this is an exploration. And in exploration, absolutely everything is valued because it's a learning process. So now there's an aura line. And there's two ways to do this. I could draw it this way, which would be a little bit difficult because I'm drawing on top of this line. So I can't really see my spacing. But if I turn my tile, I can see my spacing this way. An aura line is just a line that mimics what came before. And I'm keeping those lines nice and slow, so slow. It really is a slowing down process that gave me a new relationship to my pen, allowed me to soften my hand, allowed me to feel the texture on the page. It really changed how I draw. And I came to this practice through Amy Miracle at Mindful Art Studio, who teaches slow drawing classes once a week that are free and online on YouTube. So you can find her at mindfulartstudio.com. And then I took her approach of drawing slow lines and brought it to Zentangle patterns. She draws slow patterns out of nature, and I love drawing those, but I love drawing these patterns as well. So there it is, that's PDA. And now I'm going to show you what happens next, which is very exciting. So let's just look at the components of this. We have this rice shape, seed shape, and ask yourself, does it have to be that shape? Could it be a square? Could it be a triangle? Could it be a circle? Could I fill a little orb in the center and blacken in the edges? Could I have 2 lines or 3 lines? This is 3 in total. Could I have 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8? Do the lines have to mimic exactly? Could they flare out? Could they loop at the end? So many ways to explore this. And then these little lines come here, and if we continue them on the other side, which I will on this side just to show you, if I draw through, I see where is this going underneath, and I pick it up. This line continues on the other side, which makes this such a dynamic pattern to play with because it's really endless how you can play with it. You'll notice that this line here, my aura here was thinner and thicker here, which is another way to play with this. And there isn't a lot of black in this. So you can add creative black in your own way by making lines, giving them some personality and making them thicker. In the example, they blacked in all of this negative space behind, but I want to draw on this negative space, so I'm not going to do that just yet. So I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to start with just a line and show you how this comes together with just a line. You have to be a little bit more intentional about what you're doing. So one line, and then I'm creating that shape, and I have to think about that shape in my mind, otherwise that shape won't come into being. And notice it's a slightly different shape, which is another way to play with this. Slightly different shape than the shape I started with before. So slow. Breathing and drawing. So slowly. Turning your tile. Allowing whatever shows up to show up. Knowing that this is an exploration. And in explorations, everything is valued because it brings us new information and helps us to learn. I can continue these lines through whenever I want, which makes this so fun to play with what happens here. You play with the curve of that line. Oh, I went in the other direction. So now, look at that. Teacher's not paying attention. So this, well, actually, I'm going to allow that to be. Because everything is an exploration. I'm going to aura that line. I'm still playing with the seed shape and these auras. And so as an exploration of this particular pattern, I mean, everything is a complete success that you do, but this is also a complete success. So I could judge that and say, oh my gosh, that was a mistake. I screwed it up. I didn't do what she said. I didn't do what the creator said. But look how lovely and delightful it is. And I wouldn't have explored that shape if I had told myself to do something different, to make it the way it, quote unquote, should be. This is another exploration that is unexpected. And I'm going to allow to appear, allow it to be as it is, and value it for its unexpectedness, its spontaneity, its the interest that it brings to the page. However you're exploring, this line off the end could Be careful about what I'm doing here so you can see what I'm doing. The page can go in any different direction, really. They're made to go in opposite directions, but even just this curve can change based on your shape, the size of the shape, the space inside the shape. Absolutely everything is valid. Even if your exploration takes you in a direction where it looks absolutely nothing like what I'm drawing and where I started, that is delightful. Soft hand. Relaxing your hand, the grip on that pen. Allowing your breath to flow freely. Tuning in from time to time. Saying, hello, breath, I'm still here, I'm still noticing. And with you here on the page, just watching what happens, becoming fascinated by the process of drawing simple lines so slowly. And not asking them to be anything more than lines on the page. Maybe you try this with squiggly lines. Maybe they aren't straight curved lines, but squiggly bumpy roads. Maybe your hand has a little wiggle in it today, or maybe you intentionally put a wiggle in it just to see what happens. If you enjoy adding color, this is a really beautiful composition for adding color behind within the spaces, either within these little seed shapes, all the way through just the seeds, and another color behind, or just color behind. And then you can see that there's other shapes going on here. So I have this loop here, which is its own thing. And then I have all these individual spaces as well. So you can look at this from a larger composition perspective. And say, what shapes do I want to meld to make a larger shape? Or what shapes do I want to truncate to make a shorter or a smaller space? Go on to a new. You can always start a new composition at any time. I love playing with the size of things, making them bigger, making them smaller, varying the width and length of lines. It's such a simple way to explore, a simple way to create something new, to shift your perspective. It's really all we need to shift perspective is one tiny little shift. One itty bitty little change from what we were doing before. And practicing on the page is a really great way for practicing in life. If I just change one little thing, everything else will shift and change. Like adjusting a piece of puzzle. This is all about exploring in your way, whatever that looks like for you. My way is going to be completely different because I have different questions, different ways I want to experience my pen and the page, and visually what I want to experience. And my way is just as valid as your way, and just as valuable. I think sometimes we give away our power to other people, other teachers or models in our lives, and we say, oh, well, their way is more valuable than my way. And if I'm not doing it their way, then I'm not doing it the right way, which is just a veiled form of perfectionism that brings us a lot of pain. I think when we start to give ourselves credit that our way is the way, the best way for us, so all of us are different. And we bring all of those differences and all of that variety to our conscious attention. We see how beautiful and magical the world really is. It's beautiful and magical because we're all having essentially the same human experience in that we're in bodies and walking around on the earth. But we're all seeing it from a different perspective. We're all shifting and changing and moving in ways that are pleasing or less pleasing to us. To see what happens. It's one grand experiment, one grand experience of experience. And we're all doing it every way. And so when we spend our lives telling ourselves we're doing it wrong, it makes for a very unpleasant experience. I'm a reforming perfectionist myself, and I have to remind myself always my way is just as valuable, just as important, and just as, say, efficacious as somebody else's. And that's what I love about drawing and exploring in this way. I get to take the creator's idea of this pattern and say, well, what would happen if I change this, if I change that, if I change the other thing? What would it look like? What might I learn? What might change within me if I allow myself to explore freely without judging what I'm creating? Isn't that an interesting question? What might change within me if I allow myself to explore without judgment, knowing that all that's happening here is I'm drawing slow lines on the page. I allow myself to give myself credit for drawing those lines. And I allow myself to value those lines as important teachers about life, about drawing, about who I am. And my experience shifts and changes. I would suggest that it shifts and changes in magical ways. Releasing judgment always makes everything more pleasing. This reminds me of those little puzzle railroad, not railroad, well, sometimes there's a railroad. Yeah, railroad tracks, car tracks. When we were kids, we'd line them all up on the rug, hook them together and make bridges and ramps, connect them in all different ways. That's slowing down. Slowing down allows you to actually access your thoughts. You, that's why it's bent here. Can actually figure out what it is that you are thinking as opposed to what the rest of the world is thinking, what the commercial on TV is thinking, what the people in the newspaper want you to think. We're constantly listening to all of that noise, distraction, clutter. It's hard to figure out what we're thinking and what we want to be thinking. I have a much larger pen now. Exploring in a very different way. Very slowly. And breathing. I read something last night that really made me think about this, about perfectionism and how insidious it is in our lives. What I was reading was talking about how we're always trying to get it right. I am particularly good at that. Saying, well, if I just do the right thing, if I just eat the right food, if I just pray in the right way, if I just breathe in the right way or work out in the right way, then everything will be better. There won't be any strife. There won't be anything upsetting. It'll just all be lovely and better. When in reality, I'm just causing my own suffering by thinking that I'm doing it wrong, whatever it is, which is not valuing my way of doing things or giving myself credit for even doing them. I'm also missing out on all the beautiful ways that make me unique. Because all of the idiosyncrasies that each of us have, different preferences. Some people like pickles, some people hate pickles, some people only like sweet pickles, some people only like sour pickles, some people only like pickles when they're cold, some people only like them when they're warm. Each one of those things makes us uniquely us and allows us to share that uniquely us perspective with others, which makes life so fascinating and interesting and amazing. And so when I keep telling myself, well, if I just did it right, I was just a robot, and I did everything perfectly, or everything like Susie, or everything like Johnny, well, then there'd be a whole lot of Susie and Johnnies running around and not a whole lot of me, or you, or your neighbor, or the person you met on the subway yesterday, or the person you saw in the store. We would miss out on all of that amazing, unique, crazy life force that makes us who we are. And that just would be so super sad. It would make life really boring. Really, really boring. So I have decided start giving myself credit and begin to value all the ways that I am uniquely me. And it is a practice. It is not something that I just decide and then poof, extra magical. I am just a delightfully messy human, delighting in my messiness. It is practice. And when I find myself judging myself, shaming myself, feeling guilty, and I come back and I say, oh, wait, that's no longer who I am. It's no longer who I want to be, or how I want to feel, or how I want to think. And I don't shame myself or feel guilty for shaming myself or feeling guilty, because that's just more unpleasantness. I just take a breath, say, okay, let's practice some more. And life always gives us ways to practice. There's no shortage of opportunities to practice. I'm traveling today and had to clean up my space for the cat people to come and take care of our lovely feline. And I was super grumpy yesterday about having to clean up my space. As an artist, there's just projects everywhere. We live in a small space, and every time we go away, it needs to be cleaned up, and it's super, super grumpy about it. I threw a fit, and I was ridiculous. And I caused myself a lot of suffering. I released all that emotion, and I really thought that that's what it was about until I laid down to go to sleep. It was quiet. I could hear my breath. And then the tears started. And there weren't a lot, but they were there. And I realized it was less about the space, less about the cleaning, less about the picking up, and more about the grief that I didn't know was there and just needed to be felt. I think a lot of us are carrying grief in our hearts for so many things, countless, indescribable things. And we don't give ourselves credit. We don't allow ourselves to feel them. And that makes it more painful. So acknowledging what we're going through is so important. And then we stop long enough to breathe, notice our breath, feel it in our body, affirm our life force. Draw really slowly on the page where we're not thinking about anything but drawing lines. Sometimes that gives us enough space to feel what we need to feel, which is another reason I love this practice. enmeshed in the human experience isn't all rainbows and kittens. It can be really magical if we just allow ourselves to be as we are. And our breath and our pen can help us to do that. Okay, these are my explorations. I think I'm going to go add some color or black or something to these and more to this one. Super exciting. This is a really great one for watercolor. It'll be really pretty. All these pretty lines. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed what you drew and are valuing your lines. And I hope that you will join me again. So you can find out when these classes happen at eternalpossibility.com, and you can donate to these efforts at paypal.me/eternalpossibility. So I hope that whatever you draw and whatever you create in your life, you absolutely love it. All right, have a nice day.